Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Red Raptor Writes. So I was supposed to do an accuracy review of dinosaurs in the Outback, but the thing about that documentary is that it really doesn't have a lot of dinosaurs in it, or like the dinosaur footage is just so minimal. It's barely about dinosaurs and more about the fossilization process and geology. So there isn't that much for me to talk about in regards to dinosaurs, although I would like to talk about Australian dinosaurs, so I might think of something for that. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Bronx Zoo Dinosaur Safari. So I went to the Bronx Zoo about a week and a half ago with my fiance for our anniversary, and I didn't notice, but at the time they had the Dinosaur Safari tour going on, so that was a nice surprise. Instantly we just went to that first, got it done in about half hour, and then went to the rest of the zoo and had a great time. All the animals were really cute and fluffy, and I just wanted to hug them all, even if they wanted to murder me. But that's besides the point. Me and my fiance, we went around this tour, and we took pictures of the different dinosaur animatronics that they had. Spoiler alert, it was a great time, and I highly recommend it. But here, I'll go over a lot of the main attractions here and just do brief reviews of each one. Okay guys, so let's dig this up. Something new for the channel. Here is the entrance. Great. Okay. So one of the first dinosaurs you see is the Spinosaurus. And Spinosaurus is interesting because, well, it has two models. It has the quadrupedal model here and the bipedal model here, probably to cater to both sides of the debate. But this probably would have been appropriate maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when this was really a debate. Now most paleontologists would agree that Spinosaurus was bipedal, not quadrupedal. But it is nice to see that they put in the effort to show off and keep up with new discoveries. I don't have a picture of it here, but they do have the tail fin, I guess you can call it. That'd be the best way to describe it. But overall, I mean, maybe the sail is a little short, especially on the bipedal one, and the neural arches, the spines aren't the correct shape, but I think they did a good job with it. It has that long snout, the conical teeth, the single crest in the middle of the head, kind of a slender serpentine body. Yeah, this is definitely a good one. 4 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5 stars is reasonable. Maybe 4.5. Next up, we have Protoceratops and Velociraptor, but later on the tour you just get Velociraptor. Starting with the Protoceratops, its wrists are a little too pronated, okay, but it does have the tall tail. They had these tall caudal vertebrae that would have formed, I guess, like a mini sail on the tail. The head looks about the correct shape. It looks good. The Velociraptor, it looks a little cartoony, but also pretty accurate where it counts. Like, it has the long, slender head and snout. Feathers, of course, is a good one. Of course, it has the killing claw. There's a tail fan on this thing. The wing feathers extend all the way down to the tip of the second finger, which is accurate. The fingers are a little too small. They should be a lot longer, like about the same size as the forelimb. But aside from that, yeah, I think they look very good. I would say 4.5 out of 5 Velociraptors. What can I say? And here we have Pentaceratops. Now this one looks great. This one sparks joy. This one does not spark joy. This one I think is like broken or needs fixing or something, because the crest, what am I saying? The frill, the frill looks like broke. Oh, the frill looks broken and droopy, like it just got smacked with a baseball bat, and now just maybe that's why he's so upset. And the horns are a little bent out of shape, So we could ignore you for now. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that that one got messed up a little and it needs repairs. This one, though, looks really nice. 5 horns. I think they're counting these 2 plus these 3 to make 5. I think that's how Protoceratops works. The frill shape looks good. The accipitals or the spikes on the frill also look accurate at first glance to me. One thing that is missing, though, is that Protoceratops is kind of like the deer ceratopsian, where it has these long legs, and that's not represented here, although that's like one of its defining cool features. So I would have to give, I guess, the functioning one 4 out of 5 horns. Alright, okay, I think they did good though. Next up we have Maiasaura, the good mother lizard, and it was called that because a whole colony of Maiasaura were found together, and there were juveniles found that were too big to be hatchlings, and they were found in a nest, indicating that they were being cared for by their parent. So they're good mamas. Alright. They don't just run off to the gas station and get cigarettes and then never come back.
Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
So the Maiasaura looks good. It has that like bump, that horn you can call it, on its forehead. There's an actual beak, like a keratinous beak at the end of its duckbill. Duckbill dinosaurs didn't actually have duck bills. They had beaks like this. The skin, pebbly. Okay, it has those ridges on the back, which have been found in some hadrosaurids. I believe it was Saurolophus. The hand, it's like a singular mass down here. This finger was free, but they would have had a hoof-like structure. And I do like that they represent the children. Yes, they're taking care of the young. Now, some of the statues, animatronics here, are life-sized, and some of them aren't. Like, for a lot of the bigger animals, they're scaled down, I guess, just so that they're easier to make and to fit. But for the smaller ones, they're about the appropriate size, or close enough that it wasn't noticeable to me. Here, the Maiasaurus is scaled down. It's scaled down, but I understand that, so I'm just going to say 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, just 9.5 out of 10. No. 9 out of 10 moms, okay? For all the moms out there, that was a 9 out of 10 mom. Allosaurus. You probably recognize that it's Allosaurus without me saying it already. The skull shape is about right. It definitely looks like an Allosaurus at first glance, and it has the crest, 3-fingered hands. I want to say typical theropod build, but that sounds kind of mean and like disingenuous, mean to theropods, because they are very diverse. But yes, this is an Allosaurus, clearly. I do appreciate that they have the crest, but then like it goes over and down around the top of the head, as it probably would have. It wouldn't have just been above the eye. Well, actually it should be in front of the eye, like here, not like on top of the eye. But regardless, it looks good. The wrists are just like on the cusp of where I'm gonna start complaining about wrists. I'll give it a pass. It's like right on the cusp. The tail, that tail is messed up. I don't know what happened to this poor guy, but he got hit by a baseball bat like one too many times. I would say, again, maybe 4 out of 5 stars. Not perfect, but we're getting there. A good representation of Allosaurus. And in the same exhibit, in the same showcase as Stegosaurus, they're together, which makes sense. They both lived in the Morrison Formation, also in the Lourinhã Formation in Portugal. So they lived in North America and Portugal together. It makes sense to put them together here. The Stegosaurus, it overall looks nice. It's, not some droopy-tailed behemoth disaster like the Museum of Natural History, which I promise I will get to that review eventually. I just haven't found a time to be able to go. Okay, I'll get there, and we will complain about that Stegosaurus tremendously. But this one, the tail is upright, doesn't look too dummy thick. It's a little thick, but it has flesh, but it doesn't have those giant Stegosaurus hips that you would see in the 90s. No, the hips weren't like that. The neck, I can't really tell how long it was. Maybe it's a little short here, but the head looks good. The plates look about right. Maybe the feet are elephantine, but I can't really see them. I didn't get a good look at them. The spikes, though, you can see they're pointing upwards, which wouldn't have been the case. They would have been pointing to the sides. Yeah, because back when paleontologists thought that dinosaurs were dumb and droopy-tailed swamp dwellers, they had the tail drooping, but they knew the spikes were for defense, so they had the spikes sticking upwards, so if it swung its tail, which remember is at a low angle, it would still hit its target. Yeah, that wasn't necessary because we know it didn't drag its tail. So they can have it out to the side and still get a good hit. And there are fossils of Allosaurus that show that they were hit by Stegosaurus tails. So it was very unfortunate for them, but a great paleontological find for us. Yeah, you're good. Next up, we have Majungasaurus, which thank goodness is not called Majungatholus, because who on earth would call it that? Yeah, so the Majungasaurus looked about life-size. It was about as tall as I am. They were about 6 feet at the hips. So, alright, good job on there. The head looks good. It has that big bump or little horn at the top of the forehead, which is classic for Majungasaurus. Lovely Madagascarian animal. It's eating of a Apatosaurus, which would have been accurate. They did live together. And we will see a Apatosaurus soon. Please don't pronounce that one incorrectly. That can get you in trouble. My only problem is that they have these very developed arms. Here's the elbow here, the upper arm, lower arm, and well-defined fingers. That wasn't the case in Majungasaurus and Abelisaurids in general. They had these very stubby little arms. These are like Tyrannosaurid arms with 4 fingers instead of 2. No, they should have like stumps basically. Like just wrists with fingers on them. That's not what we get here. These arms are actually developed. But overall, yeah, I would give it, say, like an 8 Majungatholuses out of 10 Majungasauruses, so make what you will there. Oh, okay, now we're at Apatosaurus, the other Madagascarian dinosaur in here, and I'm glad that they took the time to put in dinosaurs from different parts of the world, because most of what we see is just from North America, and dinosaurs, of course, didn't just live in North America. They spanned the entire globe, from the Arctic to Antarctica and Australia, which I wish I could talk about more, but I can't. Yes, so we have another Madagascarian, which is fun because I went to see the lemurs right before this. The lemurs, oh, they were my favorite part of the Bronx Zoo. They were so cute. Zabu made my childhood the Safaka lemur. Anyways, I'm just getting off topic. They were very adorable. You should go see them. Apatosaurus is a Titanosaurian from Madagascar, though a small one. Only about, say, 50 feet in length, 15 meters. I do like that they gave it osteoderms, because the not too far related Ampelosaurus, from, I want to say South America, but I have to double check myself on that, Ampelosaurus also was found with osteoderms, so it makes sense to include them on a relative or close relative. It is a little shrink-wrapped, like the neck is just very thin and snake-like. No, it should have some flesh, some meat on there. Majungasaurus wants to eat it for a reason, because it has meat on it. The head is kind of bulbous, giant eyes, big nose. It looks cartoony. We do have skull elements from it, not a complete skull, that show it would have had a diplodocid looking skull. like wide vacuum cleaner face is what it should be. This one, I would say not terrible, not too far off, but I would have to give it 3 out of 5 stars. And now we're up to Quetzalcoatlus, which looks excellent. I love that they added pycnofibers all over it. You can see the little texturing here. Whether the pycnofibers of pterosaurs and the feathers of dinosaurs descended from the same feathery avimetatarsalian archosaur ancestor is debated, I think. They might have just developed separately in the separate groups, or maybe they had a common fluffy archosaur ancestor. Not sure. I would have to get back to you on that. There may be differing opinions on that, but regardless, it looks great. Long giant beak. This thing was like the size of a giraffe. Alright, don't be fooled. This isn't some flimsy pterosaur you can just kick and break its entire body. No, this was like a giraffe-sized creature that would just descend down on you and pluck you up with its big beak and gulp you down. This thing was terrifying. The crest is accurate. Okay, we don't actually have like the back of the skull with Quetzalcoatlus, but it probably had a crest that looked similar to this. The wings, when I was there, I was like, wait, they fold backwards correctly. They're not folding inwards. But now looking at it here, it's hard for me to tell. But I'll just say that they got it right, okay? Quetzalcoatlus, nice work, nice work. I'm a big fan. Here's Parasaurolophus. I'm not sure exactly which species this is supposed to be. If it's Pseudocristatus, maybe because it has that drooping crest, but then the crest is a little too straight in its droop. Like it's kind of like a tubican. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, it looks pretty good. Again, it has the actual beak, long, colorful crest. This could have been a display as well as being used to communicate. Like you see, it talks about communication. It would have used it as a giant tuba attached to its head to make sounds with, which, okay, it's nice that they got that and that it's colorful. The hooves, again, there's no like physical actual hoof there, but it looks good. I like the detail work. You see all the wrinkles and folds and the veins in the neck. This isn't a shrink-wrapped animal. I don't have that much more to say about Parasaurolophus. Judge for yourselves. I don't know. Pretty good to me. And that brings us to Dinonicus versus Tanatosaurus. A tale as old as time. A tune as old as song. Yeah, it's a cliche. You have the terrified looking Tanatosaurus here and a pack of Dinonicus ready to take it down. You always see this in paleo art and in representations of Deinonychus. They're always attacking a Tanatosaurus because a few times there have been Deinonychus remains associated with Tanatosaurus remains, leading some paleontologists to theorize that the Deinonychus hunted as a pack to take down the Tanatosaurus, and some died along the way. But this has been brought into question. I've talked about this at length several times now. But it's just a portrayal that keeps happening and happening and happening. It's more likely that they either attacked it as a loose gang, not really working together, or that the Tanatosaurus was being scavenged and they went into like a feeding frenzy, or they were fighting over the carcass and some Deinonychus died in the fighting. Not like an organized pack like wolves we have today. Talked about that at length. If you want more on that, check out my Jurassic Park accuracy review. I go way into it. But as for the dinosaurs themselves, the Deinonychus, they have down feathers, which is the wrong kind of feathers. They would have had more developed contour feathers along the body. And the wing feathers don't look as good as they did in Velociraptor. They look kind of glued on. And they're like small feathers extending all the way down, but it should be a solid wing all the way down. But they tried, I guess, on the Deinonychus to model the shape of the animal looks good. Looks really good. So I'll give them that. The Tanatosaurus, an iguanodontian, I believe, looks about right. I don't really have any problems with it, and I think we can probably move on. I wish I had more to say about it, but I really don't. I do like the coloration, the patterning on it. Tanatosaurus wasn't just some feeble loser who got trampled on by Dinonicus. It was a formidable herbivore. You did not want to mess with this thing. Had a giant tail to smack you with. Yeah, we should stop portraying it as cannon fodder for Dinonicus. This is Mamenchisaurus now. Okay, so cool that we have a Chinese dinosaur in here. Probably clearly not life-size. This thing would have been giant. But I do appreciate that they got the neck right, at least. Like over half the length of the body. They did good. Little small, but alright, it's looking good. And here is Anhanguera. It's not quite an ornithocheirid, but a very close relative of it. So it looks very similar to Ornithocheiris. Again, they have the pycnofibers, which is nice. Shrink wrapped, you could see the holes in the skull. And they did have a smaller crest on their snouts, but not quite at the tip of their snouts. Like the snouts went a little in first, and then it went into the crest. And maybe they captured that here. There's a little bit, maybe, okay. And now we're at Pedactylus. Man, it's a mouthful. They're together in like a joint thing going on here. It's a Tapeyarid, which you could probably tell by the giant crest on its head. But the crest isn't really the right shape. Like, yes, it should extend over its eyes and over its head, but it didn't stop there. It more went backwards in a crest loop like that. I think you could see in my mouse what's happening here. This is more like Tapeyara, which is actually here, I believe, but I didn't get a picture of it, unfortunately. And I had to limit it somewhere. The next edition is Cosmoceratops. Too bad there's no Wandaceratops. Yes, it's a stupid joke. Yeah. They look exactly like a Cosmoceratops. They have those very strange, I don't know what to call them, on the top of their frill. And their horns look right, protruding outwards and curved round, and then a little nose horn. The frill looks good. I like that there's sexual dimorphism. The male is more colorful than the female, which is often the case in birds. Might make sense putting them into dinosaurs that have flashy ornamentation. There might be a similar thing going on. But the problem is that they're not life-size. They're about half the size, maybe 3 feet tall, when the actual Cosmoceratops would have been between 5 and 6 feet tall, or maybe 1.5 meters tall. But aside from their size, which they were scaled down, I think they look great. Sorry about the photo quality. I'm just gonna blame that one on my fiance and say that she took this picture and I didn't. Now we're at Gallimimus, which I think looks excellent. Downy fuzz is right on this animal. It has a big beak, maybe a bit small, but overall in the right ballpark. It might be Ornithomimus size, so it should be a bit larger. I like the coloration on them. This is very nice coloration. They have a tail fan too, but everything, it's typical Gallimimus. Long neck, long legs, long forearms, downy feathers. They got it right. They nailed this animal. This is a highlight. This was a highlight for me. I really love this one. You're getting 10 out of 10 Gallimimuses. Congratulations. And that brings us to Tyrannosaurus, which I think is our penultimate display here. That's me just looking at the Tyrannosaurus. Ooh, waves. Okay. I wake up with waves. It's fine. I really like the Tyrannosaurus. Not perfect, but very good. It's a little too slender. It's skinny. Its chest, it should be very barrel-chested, big and bulky. This was the heaviest, most massive predator to walk the earth, so it should represent that. The chest should be like down here and be so bulky and big and chunky and thick. It needs to be dummy thick is what I'm trying to say with Tyrannosaurus. Dummy thick. But there's a lot to like about it. Scales, accurate. Okay, scales on T-Rex is accurate. Two-fingered hands, thankfully. It has the second digit here, longer than the first digit, which is a telltale sign that they're actually trying with Tyrannosaurus. Should have developed arms as an elbow, unlike the Majungasaurus in real life. The head, not too round like you see in, I hate to say it, Jurassic Park, and the pictures that are copying it, like Tarbosaurus Mightiest Ever, how they just give a super round skull. T-Rex in Evolutionary Journey does this too. It's a super round T-Rex skull. No, this is it actually looks like T-Rex. It's a skull that looks like T-Rex. And it has keratin above the eyes, which is accurate. They had these rough, bumpy textures above the eyes and kind of down the snout too, so that's represented here well. Good job on that. No lips, unfortunately. Overall, I think it's a great Tyrannosaurus. Like, this is the most popular dinosaur, hands down. So when the public comes to see, they shouldn't see a Tyrannosaurus that is outdated or that sucks. They should get an actual Tyrannosaurus and help further the public's knowledge of the most popular dinosaur, because there's so many portrayals out there that just screw it up and the public has no idea what T-Rex is actually like because they didn't watch Prehistoric Planet, unfortunately. So this can help further the public knowledge. And this is our last one. Unfortunately, it's in portrait and not landscape, but I'll survive. Starting with Gastonia here. Well, this is Gastonia, this is Utahraptor. It's kind of like that Jurassic Fight Club episode, but Jurassic Fight Club. Actually, I might like their Gastonia portrayal better because this one is a very exaggerated Gastonia. The spikes are absolutely massive. They have no chill all the way down the body, all the way down the sides. When that wasn't the case, some of the spikes were big, but not all of them were just this chunky and this massive. I do like that the body is flatter. It's not a giant sphere like in Walking with Dinosaurs. And if I'm remembering correctly, there was an earlier ankylosaur that was big and round. I don't remember which one it was supposed to be. I would have to go back and check the website. So this one looks better. The head is the correct shape. The mouth is a little more narrow than an ankylosaurus, suggesting that it would have been a slightly pickier feeder, not just gulping down everything and get its mouth on.
Ow!
Regardless, this one, 2.5 out of 5. Okay, now on to Utahraptor, which was me and my fiance's favorite dinosaur here. It was life-size, a giant dromaeosaurid. It was the biggest dromaeosaurid, but they nailed it. Also, it was the most animated animatronic. The other animatronics kind of did a short movement animation thing and then went back to its default position. Then maybe like 20 seconds later, it would go back and move. But with Utahraptor, it was constantly in motion, constantly doing things. They definitely put the most effort into Utahraptor. With that being said, it is shrink wrapped. You shouldn't be able to see the fenestrae, the holes in the skull. Like, no, that's way too shrink wrapped. But they did the feathers right. Unlike the Dinonicus, it has those developed contour feathers across the body and even onto the head. Has those wing feathers down the full arm, down the finger. They nailed it. They got the feathering correct. They have that kink in the skull and the jaw. You see that kink there where it curves up? That's a feature in Utahraptor that I'm glad they actually took the time to portray. I believe it had a tail fan, but again, it's not in landscape, it's a portrait, so the world may never know. But overall, I do love the Utahraptor. It's not perfect. If they just didn't shrink wrap it the way they did, then it would easily be a 10 out of 10. But I would have to give it a 9 out of 10 Jurassic Fight Clubs. Oh, and that's the last one. So let's just go back to the start. Brief overview. Okay. So now we're back to the start. And let me just give some closing thoughts on this. The Bronx Zoo Dinosaur Safari is excellent. If you live in the New York metropolitan area, I highly recommend that you go see it. It is great. They put a lot of effort into its animatronics, into the portrayals of these prehistoric reptiles. I have to say that because there are pterosaurs in there, so they're not all dinosaurs, but they look fantastic. And that's not even all they have to offer. There's a big emphasis on birds being dinosaurs, so they will have bird shows in here. I didn't get to see one. And there are like small dig sites for kids where they come, they dig up quote unquote dinosaur bones, dinosaur fossils. I'm sure they're not actual ones. So there's a lot to appreciate about this part of the Bronx Zoo, about this small park they have here. It comes with general admission tickets, so you don't have to pay extra or anything. I think we need more expositions like this to really inform the general public about dinosaurs, because let's be real, while we love dinosaurs and watching dinosaur documentaries and paleo videos, I love myself some Benji Thomas too, but the general public, most people, they don't really care. It doesn't affect their lives the way, say, inflation or the economy does. This doesn't affect their lives that much, so they're not going to put into effort to go out of their way to learn about dinosaurs. So we need more stuff to educate the general public about dinosaurs in the correct way, because we have the Museum of Natural History, which has some decent skeletons and portrayals and exhibits, but a lot of them are really bad and outdated. Six Flags Great Adventures in New Jersey also had a dinosaur tour. I remember when I was going through it with my sister and my friend, I was saying how it looked like they had two designers. One was really into accuracy and wanted to make convincing portrayals of dinosaurs, and then the other just really didn't care and slapped whatever crap they wanted to together. So it was a really hit or miss tour. Dorney Park in Pennsylvania has dinosaurs throughout. I remember it was also kind of hit or miss. So dinosaur tours, I guess, are becoming a more common thing, but they're not always this good. They're usually not this good. This is the best one I've seen so far. If you live in the area, I highly recommend it. Go see it. As an overall rating, I think I would give it 4 out of 5 stars, because it's not perfect, and I don't think there's a perfect portrayal, but we're getting very close to that. We're getting close to what dinosaurs actually looked like. So this was a good time. Go see it if you haven't. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and check out my social media. See you next time.